how we want to do things on our campus and our community. Before we think about going outside of any place, we want to find out, can we figure it out here at Harvard? Can we figure it out on this campus? Like you have some of, wherever you are, you have amazing people and amazing minds. And it's up to us, you know, as thinking of trying to use resources around us. So inside, you know, what do you have on your campus that you can take advantage of that you didn't, you know, whether that's public speaking, you know, whether that's, you know, a business plan, whether that's, you know, marketing, you know, whether that's being a better teacher. You know, one of the things I did when I was at the University of Michigan was I contacted some of the folks that were considered the top teachers at the institution. And because I think of us as coaches, I think the fundamental piece of that is teaching. There are no great coaches without being great teachers, and at least the ones that I really respect. And so I think that's the baseline of understanding. And my mother is a longtime school teacher. And so understanding the impact of teaching. And so how can you be a better teacher? You know, like that's, you have knowledge, but, you know, being able to impart your knowledge to others is called teaching and called leading. And so that's what I come up with teach, lead, and then how we serve. So going back to finding out the teachers on your campus, even if it's just one teacher a semester, you know, that you want to try to, you know, connect with. It has nothing to do with coaching basketball. Like it's about you being a better teacher. Part of that, you know, where you're.
I think I need a more piece of my.
Yeah, I think we lost audio.
Yeah. How we get this back?
Okay, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. You hear me? You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can.
I hear you.
Yeah, that was Coach.
Tommy's gone from the call.
Yeah, Coach. That was Coach Amaker's connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here.
Sorry about that. Hopefully where I left off, where I got shut off or shut out, you were trying to emphasize the concept of inside out. And one of the things I know I mentioned to our staff, you know, and I would hope that maybe you can think about this when you're running into any kind of problem of something, whatever it is with your program or however you're going about your business. Think about, like, you know, you have a campus and you have amazing people on your campuses, and just making sure that you're doing your due diligence to reach out to anybody that's there. We've told our staff that people literally come from all over the world to get answers from Harvard. And here we are at Harvard. And so we need to do everything we can to maximize where we are. And that's been incredibly beneficial, you know, to us and to me in terms of how we have been able to run our program. And it's crossed over so many things. It's allowed us, one, to get the answers we're looking for or get help or assistance, you know, utilizing resources. But it's also been where we have been able to build bridges and build relationships along the way. Like that's been one of the biggest things that I found with the Breakfast Club. You know, like we've grown that into an amazing platform, and also a group of individuals that are season ticket holders now, are, you know, job opportunities for our players, internships for our players. We have faculty on that. So independent studies, or wherever it can go, and it's all been going in ways that are incredibly positive, and it can go ways of you didn't even think of at the very beginning. And so again, just trying to, if I can say one thing about this, and I mean this sincerely about talking to, younger coaches. Hell, I'm an old head now. Paul and I can attest that we're old heads now. But if you can make sure that you are trying to maximize, your resources on your campus, I mean, they're there, and I can't imagine. Just like for me coming to Harvard, I haven't had anyone, not one person, that has told me that they didn't have time to help me. And I'm saying that I can't imagine that wherever you are, approaching it and presenting it the right way, that you won't have the people there that are on your campus inside that'll be willing to assist you in any capacity. Is that something that you feel like you're trying to be self-aware of, maybe some of the things that that you want to get better in, whatever that may be, public speaking, your teaching methods, whatever the things may be that you as you're consistently trying to get better, trying to learn and prepare yourself, like you have some absolute dynamite, first class, high level resources at your disposal if you're willing to make sure that you're willing to reach out and present yourself the right way and ask for the kind of assistance or help that I'm sure you'll get, like I've gotten. I mean, and so Breakfast Club, inside out concept is kind of the overarching theme for me to be able to share. It got nothing to do with, trying to run the hammer play, or, you guys do it. Paul, you said something years ago that always I thought was, brilliant. And you said the game of basketball, I thought you said it this way, was overcoached and undertaught. And, one of the things about, that word teach, that word teaching, like that's a powerful word. And so to make sure that you're thinking of ways to become a better teacher. In order to become a better teacher, you have to be a terrific communicator. How can you connect? Communicating is about connecting. Can you connect, and then can you deliver your knowledge, your information? That's what a teacher does. And then being a leader, that's what a leader does. And so this is what I would want to share with all of you, get ideas of maybe things you're doing. I can, learn from you, or questions you may have, or, Kevin, I talked about, you said culture and, different things along the way that as you're trying to grow and build your career, but also grow and build, a program where you are.
Yeah.
I know that, doing the job where you are is the most important thing for your future. We have a saying with us, with our team, the best preparation for tomorrow is to do good work today. Like we talk about that all the time as we are trying to get ready for a game, and I would usually say that a lot the day before a game, like we forget, like the best preparation that we can have for tomorrow's game, or for tomorrow in life or in general, is to make sure that we're doing good work today. And so thinking of ways of, how do you connect, how do you teach, and how can you lead? But doing your job where you are is paramount for where you want to try to position yourself to go and to be in the future. And so just initially opening with a few thoughts, a few things like that. I'm glad you guys had a chance to view some of the video, or the video that we shared. And it was very meaningful to me. I talk about that as being probably the most meaningful aspect, of my tenure so far here at Harvard. The people that I've been able to meet and gather and learn from, and then being able to kind of bring our players into that environment, that world, and turn them over to those guys or those people as well. It doesn't get any better than that for me. And I want to say this, I want to be clear about this. Like, that didn't happen because we won a few games here. I've said this many a times and very publicly. I said, we won those games because that did happen. Like sometimes I gotta do this first before I can do. Well, those are the kind of things that we found out that allowed us to win games. It allowed us to have those kinds of moments with our players, that they recognized how much we were caring and believing about them beyond the 94 by 50. And not only, speaking to those kinds of thoughts, but absolutely executing and delivering and showing them, that we're all about those thoughts. We all say it, and I've said it, we've said it in different ways, but can you show it? And that was the way that we really were trying to show the way that we were speaking and show the way we felt. So going to stop there, Coach Sutton, and if there's anything you want to chime in.
What we're going to do now is we're going to open it up for questions here, and then just try to make it as interactive as we possibly can. Really want to just make sure we value the time that you're spending with us today, and pick your brain as much as we possibly can. So just go ahead and let's open it up with questions here. Just unmute yourself and just go ahead and ask the question. Manny Bloom, go ahead, Manny.
So I watched the Breakfast Club thing, and obviously at the high school level, it's definitely doable for us, and I loved it. Do you keep it confined to, mainly basketball related, whether that be boosters, families, student athletes, or do you open it up more to the campus? Is Coach here?
Yeah.
Froze up.
Look like we lost him.
I'll ask him again when he comes back on if you want.
The Wi-Fi down at the Cape isn't that great, Coach Sutton.
You guys ain't paid the bill down there?
Somebody forgot to do the endowment check. That endowment check ain't passed, Kevin.
No, it must not have, right?
Tasha, what's up, girl?
Yeah, okay. We load you. We'll wait for you. Yeah, high school coach and
Coach Wald, what's up, baby?
Bloom, what's up? We got to catch up.
Yeah, man. I texted you and I was like, he must got a new number because I saw when you got the job.
No, you just texted me a moment ago, right?
Is that the right number?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just using the phone. I can't text back right this second, so I'm not using computer.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Likewise, bro. Yeah.
I'm coming back. You been in on any of these the 5-star ones? I've been in on all the 5-star ones with all the old crew.
Yeah, I got in on one, and obviously, the one where we're recognizing.
Here we go.
TA's back. Okay, here we go.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if it's me or obviously it's me. I'm the only one. So Manny was asking a question, right?
Yeah, I can repeat it. So now I watched your Breakfast Club video. It was obviously a unbelievable thing. We do like team meals and stuff, but that would take it to another level. Do you limit it to basketball oriented boosters and families and stuff, or is it open to a wide range of athletes and faculty and so on and so forth? Yeah,
Manny. It didn't start at all with any basketball quote unquote boosters. And I purposely one of the good things, and hopefully you guys can do this in your own way, step outside of the the quote unquote the athletic world. Like that's been invaluable for me. I mean, you'll be able to be amazed, I think, at some of the parallels, obviously, but also your ability to kind of build relationships and just learn from others that aren't necessarily talking the same quote unquote language that we talk all the time. So stepping outside of that, like that was something for with Harvard Law School. Like the professor there was the one that we really started it with, and then I asked him to kind of introduce me to some of his colleagues And as we know, people are, interested or fascinated with sports, or so that, my point of saying that is that I purposely didn't want to do it with anything like in the athletic world. Now we have athletic people in it now. I mean, we got, other coaches and, but that was not part of the plan. The plan was to kind of step outside of that and branch out and learn in a different arena. Like I try to learn from and think about other industries, not so much just the basketball industry. The thoughts and readings and trying to learn from people. So to answer your question, Manny, it purposely was not try to begin something with athletics or basketball people. It was clearly outside of that space.
Thank you, Coach.
Jamar Betts.
Where's Jamar?
We'll go ahead to Daryl.
Hey, I'm right here. Sorry, Coach. How you doing?
I see you, buddy. I see you. What's up, man?
Coach, just tell us, like, you've been in coaching for a long time, and every time I see you, I swear, whether it's coaching or you're out recruiting, you always look fresh. You always look upbeat. You don't look like the industry has beat you down. Tell us, what kind of keeps you going and motivated, in this business as it currently stands today?
Well, I appreciate that. You obviously haven't seen me in some of the moments. I know I've been beaten down, so I thank God you haven't seen me in those
Well,
moments.
you do a great job of hiding it.
Well, listen, one of the best things that an elderly woman told me when I was at Seton Hall. I mean, she was a cafeteria worker in the dining hall. Helped clean up the place. And as we all do, you treat everybody, just the right way and all those kind of things. But one of the most interesting things I always remember what she told me, and she said when she would see me, she said, "Coach, I could never judge by looking at you whether or not you guys won or lost." I always remember that. And I don't know, it was just something that just struck me that now maybe they needed to see me all pissed off and down. I don't know, but I didn't take it that way. I took it in a very complimentary way that, hey, man, kind of what you were referring to. And I never forgot that. I never forgot that, I left that there. I'm not trying to carry this over with me and feel like it's running my whole life or I'm living and dying with. We all do it to a certain degree, and we understand the significance and how much we all want to win, and we want, all of the things that we all have gone through and we'll continue to go through if we stay in this crazy world that we're in with coaching. But I didn't forget that. And so that made a big impression on me in my first head job when I was a young coach starting at Seton Hall. And I always thought that was a very interesting thing that she said to me, and I was proud of it when she said it. And I've always tried to take that with me about making sure that how I present myself, no matter what, is, we're going on to the next thing, and we're going to do better next time, whether we won or lost, or however it was. But I appreciate you making a point of saying that, but I'm sure that has a lot to do with what you recognize in me in certain ways. So thank you.
Daryl LeBerry.
Coach, Harvard is obviously a really special place, so I can tell that it's impacted and influenced your perspective on coaching now in general. But for people who are not at a place that's like Harvard, try to put yourself back in the mindset of when you were at, I don't want to say regular institutions, but more institutions that are more familiar with everyone else on the chat. How would you do things differently, knowing what you know now? And then what's different about the Harvard job than what you thought it was going to be when you were going into it?
Yeah, Daryl, great stuff, man. I don't look at Harvard. I mean, I try to see I'm trying to say this the right way. I want to make sure that whoever we are, when I say Harvard or Seton Hall or Duke or I've been very lucky to be a part of some great places. But it doesn't, I'm trying to maximize who we are and not try to be somebody that we're not. I think that's really important. I think it's important that same thing like we want with players. We want players. Coach K would always tell us in recruiting, he would say this. He said he wants guys, for us to kind of find guys, and obviously our job as assistants, kids who, know their game and know the game. Like, that's a big deal when you think about somebody who can really understand who they are as players and not try to be somebody that they're not, as we probably deal with that constantly. I know we all do. We need this kid to be like, this is who he is, and would he really appreciate the things that he can bring or she can bring, to our team, be who they're supposed to be. Well, we've tried to do that in every spot, whether it's Seton Hall. I mean, just understanding where you are and then trying to maximize who you are. It doesn't have to be whether you're trying to be somebody. Coach K said that was one of the biggest things that he learned. He took over the Duke program. He never tried to be, to try to compete with or live up to what North Carolina was doing. He said, this is, we're at Duke. This is how we just need to be who we're supposed to be. And so understand when you said that about taking things from Harvard to different places, like the main thing I would say, I would try to gather some, relationships outside of basketball on campus that I didn't do that before. I wasn't bad at it, but I didn't do it like we've done at Harvard with the Breakfast Club or concepts or ideas like that. I would definitely do that if I had a chance to do that over. As I said to all of you and any young coach I can talk to, they should absolutely try to think about something along those lines. It doesn't have to be that, but something of that philosophy of getting outside of that athletic space and making sure you think about every resource you have on that campus, regardless of whether you're Harvard or your junior college, your community college, your 4-year institution, whatever it is, your institution of higher learning. And making sure that, you are resonating, with that place, and you're trying to maximize your time and your absolute, with the people and resources you have there. So I don't know if I'm answering it, Darryl. I just feel like there are a few things that I don't feel like was any different. We didn't change anything. I mean, I knew one of the things that really, was meaningful to me at Seton Hall, just going back a few places now, that the president of the institution, there was no athletic director at the time I was hired at Seton Hall. So people, look, that's not a good situation. Well, I looked at it totally different. Like that allowed me to be wired in right away with the president of the school. That taught me right away, like even now at Seton Hall, now at Harvard, like I'm a special assistant to the president of Harvard. Like I've learned that in my time at Seton Hall of how important, having a relationship or trying to build a rapport with your president. Mm-hmm. Like that taught me that right away. And one of the things I was getting at was that my president at Seton Hall, he looked at me differently because one of the things I talked to him about was, the landscaping of our school. I was interested in having him. I told him, I said, well, we can do this better, can't we? Like we can help our school look better. It had nothing to do with our gym or locker room. Like he felt right away for me that I wanted to be a part of the community. Like I wasn't just there trying to, win a basketball game. And I understood how important what that meant to him. And that changed my rapport relationship with him completely. Like there was a care there about how our institution presented itself, how we were going to try to, right there on South Orange Avenue, if you guys know, Bruce, that. Bruce, and it was the main gate to the school, right there on South Orange Ave. And I was telling her how, I think there's something here that we can do to kind of illuminate or, kind of make our school be a little bit better presented, just from a aesthetic or visual standpoint. And I just, that was something that went over very well. So I'm saying to all of you to, think outside of the space where you are, think a little bit bigger than that in terms of, a locker room or all that stuff is important. None of it is unimportant, but don't forget about some of these things that are important to other people. And obviously we get so blocked in to what's just important to us as we're trying to coach basketball.
This next question is coming from one of your living trophies, Matt Frischella.
Matty.
Coach,
what's up, man?
Thanks for coming on. one thing that I always respected about being part of the program and just how you recruit. So you sold kids on Harvard, you sold kids on like the opportunities that we were going to have on the court, off the court. Obviously, the Breakfast Club being one of them, faculty food and fellowship, some of the trips we took. How did you, and this is not something that I ever thought about as a player, but now that I've been coaching, something that has interested me. How did you decide, like, we were on a road trip, like when you guys go down to DC and you stop at the MLK Memorial, or you guys are in Atlanta and you stop by, Ebenezer and all that stuff. How do you decide with you, I guess, as the lead guy, but also with your staff, like the balance and like, going to Twitter, going to all that stuff that you guys are able to do? How do you balance the educational experience and the opportunities for those guys off the court, and I guess not preparedness, because we were always prepared to play, but like having like the right mindset going into games as far as just being locked in on basketball, being locked in on like, what we're there to do,
Yeah, Maddie, Maddie, I appreciate it. And you've lived it, you know it. And we are, and hopefully all of us are as well, in our own different ways. It doesn't have to be the way that we're speaking about it tonight, or I'm speaking about it tonight, but different ways that you can always show and convince, your players or your team, your program, that you're about, you're about more than them just, winning a game. And so, Maddie, for, stuff that has happened like that, it's all been byproducts of the relationships that we've been able to have with people on our campus. Like all that's developed from relationships for Harvard. Just for an example, you mentioned, going to Ebenezer Baptist Church. I pride myself at times, and maybe you guys can do this. Like, we know folks, and our pastor at the church at Harvard was from Atlanta. So, Reverend Walton, Jonathan Walton is his name. And I would, we knew we were going to be playing Mercer, and it was over the break. So, we had our schedule, and, we've always tried, and I've asked our staff, our scheduling assistant, like, find out when our schedule is done, let's find out how this thing lays out on the calendar. Do we have an off day? Let's figure it out well in advance. Will we have something to be able to, parlay this into more than just going and playing a game? And timing wise, never sacrificing anything basketball wise for our preparation. But we do have time. And if we map it out correctly, we can really maximize our time. And so I went to him and I just said, Reverend, I said, we're going to be in Atlanta. This is over the break. We got an extra day, and from Atlanta, we're going to Chapel Hill to play UNC. And so I'm giving you assignment. Like I told him, and he loved it, and we laughed or whatever. I was treating him like he was one of the players. I'm giving you assignment right now. I said, I need you to quarterback this trip. I said, I need you to find how we can go to, maybe Ebenezer. He took it from there, and it was, the pastor at Ebenezer is he went to Morehouse, is one of his classmates. So it was like, hell, they took it as a pride and wanted to make sure this damn thing went right. So it's not all of us all the time thinking, man, how do they have time to do all that? No. These are relationships we built, and then we've mapped out some things early enough to see the timing of the layout. And then I've gone to my resources to ask them to fill in the blanks for us, if it's possible. And so Ebenezer turned into that. We found out that President Jimmy Carter was going to be there for that particular Sunday to worship. Well, we went to David Gergen, who's you may see him on CNN or whatever. Well, he worked in Hawaii. He's worked for 4 presidents. He's one of our guys at the Breakfast Club. So he said, hell, let me make a call. That's set up for us to be able to meet President Carter. I mean, my point of saying that is this is all because of the things like the Breakfast Club, or you're reaching out to resources on your campus. You never know how far these things can go and the tentacles they can create. And that's how we were able to put it together. But someone like Reverend Walton was the quarterback of it and kind of laid it out for us. So that stuff is important for us. Like I feel like we're not going to ever go any place. We went to play Georgetown in DC and NIT, and we had the Supreme Court, Elena Kagan, the Justice Kagan, who used to be the former dean of Harvard Law School. I met her for that, and then she goes on to become a Supreme Court justice. So as you're meeting people on your campus of not knowing where they may go in 2 years, 3 years, next month, like I didn't think this, I don't know, I wouldn't think about her being a Supreme Court justice as the dean of the law school, but that's where she ended up, and that's the relationship. I had met her before because it was important for me to meet the deans at the school, because if we're going to recruit somebody who may be interested in law one day, I need to know the dean of Harvard Law. Well, that's how that happened. So now we fast forward. Well, anytime we go to D.C., she comes to our games with security and all that stuff that comes with being a Supreme. She wanted us to come to the Supreme Court. She took us on an amazing tour with the whole team. I mean, it's just off the charts of the things that it can lead to when you're trying to connect with the resource, going back to the resources on your own campus. But that was important for us. Like we believe in that aspect of our program. And I believe that kind of stuff helps our players to be better balanced. I believe they become better ball players. And I believe they, become better citizens and certainly better people about what it is for Harvard basketball. When they go out and talk about, yeah, man, this is, I went, especially for guys at times, and Maddie, for you, for guys who didn't necessarily play or start, you know what, you were gained a lot from our program and not having to, to be a starter to score 20 points a game. And so for players to see, all of them to see how they can benefit from these experiences and from our program is invaluable.
Definitely. Thanks, Coach.
No question. Next question, Paul Hewitt.
Tommy, I gotta make sure you give the proper credit. Overcoaching and untaught. That was Pete Noodles. Pete Newells. I got to give him credit for that statement. But
that was a great.
Yeah. Hey, listen, as a young coach, I assume that you drove your players really hard. Your first head coaching job, guys tend to forget what it was like as a player, and they push and they drive and they drive. You made a statement about the Breakfast Club. You said that you guys didn't win the games because you didn't have the Breakfast Club because you won games. You won games because of the Breakfast Club. My question is, how did this make you a better coach? Did you feel like, and I have an idea what the answer probably is, but did you feel like you could push and drive your players a little harder because of all those off-the-court enrichment ideas that you had? Did you feel like this genuinely made you a better coach by doing these things?
Paul, absolutely. I felt like it made me a better leader. And I feel like that's, you talk about undervalued or under talked about or undersold or whatever, a better leader, and learning from those individuals who are amazing in their worlds of what they do and learning from them. And one of the things you mentioned about being a former player and having your first job, one of the things I've never tried to do, and I'm sure players would say that's bullshit. I did exactly what I said I didn't do. But I always try to remember what it felt like to be a player. I always try to do that even in recruiting. Like if I'm this kid, what do I see? What do I think? Is this the right, I always try to say, if, pride myself on being a player, would I want to play with this guy? Like I asked internally, I processed that information. Like, would I want to play with this dude? Like, would I want to, as a recruit, like we're recruiting a certain kid, like, hell, would I want to play with him? I pride myself on being a good teammate, if not great. We can all embellish, our history, but I pride myself on being the right kind of teammate. And so that was important for me to think about, but I never forgot that. And I always tell our teams that I'm not going to forget what it was like, what you guys are going through. Like, being a student athlete, having to do what you have to do. And then for me to feel like, all that's out the window, I'm just going nuts and maybe I should have done more as a younger coach, to be harder, whatever. But
you did it right.
but the Breakfast Club allowed me to become a better leader for sure.
The next question from the Queen, Coach Adair.
Tommy, you talk about being a teacher and a leader. And how do you, or what advice would you give? There are a lot of assistant coaches on the call. What advice would you give them as they are trying to If they're not in the game yet, get in the game. And then how do they grow within the ranks of being an assistant coach? What are some of the things that you look for in assistants? And then within your own system and your own program and family, how have they grown? What are some of the things that you teach and that you implement?
Well, Coach, thank you. And as young assistants, we were taught and told, during my time, and I was an assistant for 8 years as an assistant and 1 year as a GA, so 9 years. But the GA really wasn't, kind of the way it is now. It was just there to help pay for the schooling that, we were trying to, as a graduate student. But 8 years, 9 years, if you're really accounting everything. But we were told, think like a head coach, act like an assistant, and never forget that. That was big in terms of recognizing, and we all have this as assistants where, you would do this way, or you have, we all have all the answers as assistants. we all did. I mean, Paul, me, you. I mean,
right.
It's okay. That's part of growth. There's an old saying, that what really matters in the world is what you learn after you said you know it all. But learning, I would say about being an assistant, is that I wouldn't just try to focus. Again, I'm trying to, hopefully you hear me on this theme, just try to learn from just the basketball stuff. You'll be way ahead of the game if you develop a system within who you are to think outside of basketball to learn teaching and leading. Like finding something to read, finding an article, finding different things about a company. And you'll be amazed how much it's transferable, but it's also opening your mindset and your horizons to a different way of thinking. Because those are the people that are I think they're on the cutting edge or the forefront of change and adaptability of what's coming, of what's changing, and whether that's the leadership principles or ideas or thoughts. So answering your question, Coach, about what I would say to young assistant coaches, I mean, you're going to work. We have what we have, we call a staff identity for us. Like we have an identity how we want to play, and we also have an identity of how our staff should be. And I give it out we have our first staff meeting, and it's guys have been with us for a number of years. They still talk about this on the very first day, and I give it out on the card, like a note card, and it's typed up, and each one gets it every single year we start our season on. And the first thing that we talk about in our staff identity is loyalty. Like we all come from different places and know different people and indebted and all the things that come with that of our background. But we need to be committed to being loyal to this group, to this staff and this team. So loyalty is the first thing. We say we need to try to outwork and out-hustle our competition. And then we got to be clear on who our competition is. Like that's big with me. Like our competition isn't Kentucky. I mean, maybe their only competition is the Lakers. I don't know, but or our competition isn't Duke. Like we need to define that. Sometimes people can put you in a position to where like we're not being very wise or smart about how we're utilizing our resources and our time. So understanding who our competition is, but outwork and out hustle. Can we have great follow-up and follow-through? Like we all know as assistants, you got to be really good at that. You got to be really good at that. You got to be really good at when people, call and you get back to them. People ask for, whatever it may be, I don't know, whatever the request of things that you get and things that you need to do, whether it's your own players, the coaches of your players or recruiting, it's impressive when you have great follow-up and follow-through. We need to have that. Like that's big with us. So we say loyalty, we say outwork and out-hustle our competition. We talk about having great follow-up and follow-through. We said we need to try to have, tremendous amount of attention to detail. Like we need to be precise and organized and see if we can, be sharp when it comes to attention to detail. And then the fifth thing we talk about, we got to have fun. we really believe in that. That's part of our, team identity is to have fun, and part of our staff identity is to have fun. We have a saying in our program is that it's we work too hard at this not to have fun at it. You got to have some fun at what you do, and however you can calculate that or define that, but you got to make sure that you're feeling like we're doing something that's fun here, and that's important. So understand that. So for us is to understand that as an assistant, as a staff, we do have a staff roles, just like we have player roles.
Yeah.
And we need everybody to, what we say about a player and we don't do anything any differently. If we do it for our team, we need to do it with our staff. So the roles that we say, we need to embrace our roles, not just accept our roles. Because you can accept a lot of things and roll your eyes. And we've seen that with our players, how it is to, we never say accept it. And Matty, that we talk about embracing. There's a whole different connotation when you talk about accept versus embrace, because you can accept it reluctantly. That's not going to be good enough. But when you embrace something, I mean, there's a thought and feeling behind that you're going all in with this, like you believe in it. You're embracing it. You're running toward it, and so that's important for us to make sure that we're going to define those things for our staff. One of the things that would be important for any of you to think about, does your head coach really, or is head coach the players, or for you as an assistant, do they really know, or shouldn't say no, but have they defined your role for your team? Have they defined it? Have they been able to give you great direction and definition on what your role is? And you should want that. You should want that. And you want to be clear about that. We want to be clear. We want to be concise, and we want to be consistent. In how we speak and in our terminology with our team, with our staff. So there's none of this. I don't know if there's one thing that would just absolutely make Coach K lose his mind. When we played for him, was that if one of us would ever say, "I don't know what he wants from me." And we heard that a lot as players. Maybe a lot of us have said it. Like, I don't know what he wants from me. Man, you talk about having him, blow a gasket. Well, I understand that. I much more certainly has been a head coach of, being able to be clear and concise with whatever your role is for the thing. You may not like it, but you can't say you don't know what it is.
All right, next question, Eric Skeeters.
TA, so you have your first Breakfast Club meeting, you come up with the idea, you have your first one, it's 2 people, 4 people, it grows to the next level. When did you know you got something really good, and in that process of figuring it out, how to get it started, having your first couple meetings, and then it grew, when did you know, and what could you put your finger on, hey, this is really going to be great?
Yeah, with that, the two people and 2 pieces to that, that I thought that just happened organically for us. And if I'm asking somebody to go create it now, I would say you got to nail these 2 down. Like, the one thing was that it was Charles Ogletree who was. You need one linchpin, and don't think of yourself as the linchpin. Like, you need one linchpin that if this dude or this person or this woman is going to do this, with me. Other people are going to, they're coming because he said, come on, let's go do it. That's how it happened with Professor Ogletree. Like, he's, it doesn't get any better who he is, and it just over the top with his resources, credibility. He called a few folks. Hey, if he said that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing. That's how it worked. The second part of it is having someone that's going to be kind of in charge of the organization of it. So, when Professor Ogles, we call him Tree, when Tree was part of it and how it started with me, he kind of put his arm around me and said, hey, he wanted people to know we're going to look after this guy. So you need somebody that you feel that can maybe have that role, and then somebody else that you can feel that is going to be able to say, I'm going to keep track of it month to month. We're going to have the dates. We're going to find the location. And then we're going to, then we need to make sure we're sending out all the information, our email. And then when we say meetings, I don't know that it's ever really a meeting. I mean, we gather. And then I've been able to get other people to come to be guest speakers or whatever, and that's been wonderful. But we gather and share is kind of what we do. And we end up talking about things going on in their world, and they want to talk about how we're recruiting. And then, obviously being a big help in recruiting, big help to the players. But the two main pieces, I would say the linchpin kind of person that you feel like is like a magnet, someone that would kind of make sure that, if they make the call, if they say, hey, I need a couple of you folks to come over, we're going to start something with Coach X or Coach Y. And then someone else is going to be in charge of kind of making sure, and that's outside of the basketball office. That's not something we do, through my office or our staff.
And you never really came in with an agenda. If I could ask a quick follow-up, you never really had, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. It's just meet with these certain people and let's just let it flow.
We have begun to do that over the last number of years. This thing has been going now for us for 12 years. So the last number of years, we have kind of been more like, hey, this is what we're going to try to, if this person is coming, we send out, information about the speaker or the guest who's coming. And then let's welcome so-and-so is coming. So we get every month, we'll get anywhere from 20 to 35 people, that come every month. And, it's amazing. I mean, and we get a guy that, it's funny how this happened. I mean, he came to Harvard as a fellow for the Harvard Kennedy School. And I was over there just trying to build a rapport over there one day at a luncheon. He was there as a fellow, just there for 1 year. And somehow the Breakfast Club came up and I talked about it. And he asked me, could he come one day just to meet some folks? I said, great. His name is Ron Christie. Ron comes now for the last, probably for the last 8 years, once a month. Because Ron, he doesn't live in Boston. Ron comes up from Washington, D.C. once a month to come to the Breakfast Club. He's the director of the IOP, the Institute of Politics at Georgetown. He used to work for President Bush in the White House, but he came to Harvard. That's how we had Twitter, Maddie. Ron's wife basically she runs Twitter. So when we go to San Francisco, we go to Twitter. But I'm only saying that, Skeets, just for the point of saying that this thing has kind of gone in a direction where we have an agenda sometimes, we have a speaker sometimes, but the people that have come, and now they feel like, everybody's feel like they got to touch it now if you're trying to do something in Boston. I mean, we've had governors come. I mean, it's been that way. We've had 3 governors come now. So the chief of police, the mayor of Boston, you name them, they've been through that because it's become a spot where people feel like this is a group of people I need to touch if I'm trying to do something. Run for office. It's turned into that I didn't think of it that way. It started where these folks were trying to look after me as I became the coach at Harvard.
Next question comes from Corey McCray, University of Delaware.
What's up, Coach? Thanks for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
My question is, what do you think so far has been your greatest accomplishment as a head coach and your greatest failure? And with the failure, how did you move forward?
Yeah, Corey, and I think we all, we have a sense of trying to, we need to do a better job as individuals, human beings, to be able to define, what we feel our success is or what we feel our failure is. And I guess from a public standpoint for me is probably, getting fired at Michigan. But one of the things that I learned from that, and it's, as we all try to take things from every experience we have, there's a thought that I've used, oftentimes our greatest rejection will lead us to our greatest direction. That's happened for me. That's I'm a product of that right now.
Say that one more time, Coach.
Yeah. Oftentimes our greatest rejection can lead us to our greatest direction.
Thank you.
And Coach, hey, TA, can I be a deacon as you preach that sermon right there, and echo and say, "Amen, brother."
Amen.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen.
I mean,
hold your hands up. Amen. Yes, sir.
and Corey, so in terms of that, like that was, as we, if we're in this business long enough, and we all know it. I mean, we all know how it works, and losing our job or getting fired, or that's part of it. But being self-aware of learning, from it. One of the things, Oprah Winfrey came to speak at commencement at Harvard a few years ago, and of course, Oprah, my mother heard that Oprah was coming. She told me I better have my ass over there and listen to Oprah. And I was, and I did. But that's exactly what she talked about, Corey. That's exactly what she talked about. She talked about failure. And as great speakers can do when they speak to thousands of people or hundreds of people or more, they make you feel like they're talking just to you. And I thought she was like, damn, I'm looking around like, is anybody else around? Because I'm thinking, she's talking to me, And she talked about her failure. She talked about the OWN network, the OWN, I guess the Oprah Winfrey Network, I guess had flopped when it started. And this is her speech. You should look it up if you guys get a chance to find her speech, on, whether, I don't know if it's YouTube or however you can find it. I wouldn't know how to find it, but I know all y'all on here know how to find stuff. But you should get her speech. And she talked about how when Harvard called her to ask her, would she be willing to consider being a commencement speaker, and to be like, it was a year in advance. And she told the story that when she got the call from President Faust, our first female president in the history of Harvard, amazing woman. And she got the call. And she said that she thought about it, I'll consider it. She said she went and took a shower. And she said in the shower, she said she decided from 1 year from right now, when she's going to go to Harvard, she's going to tell the story of how she turned around her network. That was kind of something that moved her to say, I'm going to go to Harvard and explain that. And she did. And so for me to say failure, I get it. I get it. I think it's really important that we try to make sure we use or take things from failure, and, one of the things you hear, or at least I've heard through the years, and I've used it, there's always a lesson in the loss. Like there's always a lesson in the loss, whether that's a game we just played, or, a loss of life, or, whatever loss you may, however you may define a particular loss, but there's a lesson in it, and it's up to us to try to find it. And so for me personally, thinking about, whether that's different ways of doing things, whether that's being better at this, whether that's not doing so much of that, whether that's for me personally, and I've said this, and this, everything we talk about, this all stuff stays with us, right? This is not no.
Absolutely. They already know.
Yeah.
They already know.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, I found out, and be very honest, being self-aware for me, and I don't believe that I fit at a state school. I don't. I mean, I'm not saying I would never work at a state school. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the future, and, I don't know. But I know that, when I think about the fits for me, as we think about for players and programs or whatever, I don't know that would be something that would register with me as well. And so understanding, a little bit more about myself and where maybe I belong in a certain environment. And that's not I'm okay to say that. That doesn't mean for state school, opportunity, or, I get fired at Harvard. I don't know. I mean, none of us know, but I'm saying to you as a private, kind of self-aware, component that I feel like I was able to digest with myself. I thought that was something that really made sense to me. And so when you ask me about failure, I talk about this a lot with, people talk about recruiting classes and all those kind of things. And I learned this from Bo Schembechler at Michigan. I'm a big college football fan. I love the, obviously we're from the DC area, DMV, so we, go Skins, I understand risk. But I'm a big college football fan. And so when I got the Michigan job, one of the things that I really wanted to do when I got there was somehow meet Coach Schembechler. He had retired and whatever. And so I got it all hooked up that I was going to go meet him and whatever. And I went with him to a couple things that he had to speak to M clubs and Michigan alums and I always remember something that he said when people talked about recruiting classes, and he barked at a person who said, Coach, how was it? He said, listen, he said, I never evaluate my recruiting class until 10 years after they graduate. He said, that's how you find out if you had a damn good recruiting class. I was like, damn, I never thought of it that way. I just have to tape a message for our seniors and recount it, that's the way that, we feel about it as well. Like you ranked this or rated that, or we'll find out how good the recruiting class was 10 years after you graduate. Like that's how he would say it. And so thinking about things of being, success for stuff, what are these kids doing? Am I serving them the right way? Like I say, teach, lead, and then serve. Like if I'm teaching, leading, and serving, you know what? I'm a success. And and I don't feel like I failed at Michigan just because I happened to get fired. I understand that. But, when you do those things, so in my point of saying that is that you need to be able, in this day and time that we live in, define your own success. Like it can't be what somebody else says, how they put whether or not you were successful or not. Like that's not healthy. So that's not. I mean, we don't define everything about our program. How many, with the scoreboard, the great book by Bill Walsh, the great San Francisco 49ers football coach. The scoreboard will care for itself. All that was about, the process, the internal stuff that goes in on the day. But you define what's important to you. You define what will be a success for you. And if that means winning a championship, it is. We talk, Maddie, you know this. We don't talk about winning a championship. What do we say, Maddie?
Talk about becoming a championship team.
Yes, sir. We don't talk about winning one. We talk about becoming one. And so everything is about becoming, not just trying to win it. And so that, to me, like if we're becoming, and you define what a championship is for you, like that, I mean this sincerely for all of us, especially for young coaches, because you get evaluated in the world we live in so many different ways that it can, we say to our players, it can just kind of get ridiculous, with how that is. Like you need to stay balanced and stay healthy with what your definition of success will be for this team, for your program, for however you want to define it.
The next question from Chris Solney.
Hey, Coach. Question. So a good friend of mine is Kirby Porter, who has started the Court to Corporate platform, and I feel like that's kind of tied into that Breakfast Club thing that you do, or the Breakfast Club that you do. My question was, how is the Court to Corporate and the Breakfast Club tied into the recruiting process? And once they get to campus, how do you keep sight of that, when it's February and you have a meeting, but you got Penn and Princeton on a weekend coming up? If you could kind of touch on that for me. Yeah,
I mean, to take the latter part of it, we do play back to back, and whether that's it's Friday and Saturday, kind of the games that are scheduled in our conference. We have the dates laid out, for our Breakfast Club well in advance. Like we'll do this before we only do it the academic year, so September through April. And so we'll have it laid out. We usually do the second Wednesday of every month. And I mean, I'm like, one of the things, that we know and that I've learned in doing my time, there are 24 hours in a day, as we know, but the same 24-hour number. Martin Luther King didn't have more than 24 hours in a day. We all have the same 24 hours everybody else has. And I know that I do eat breakfast every morning. So that's why, literally, it's one of the things about it being breakfast for me, because I know I'm going to do it anyway. So I may as well do, what else can I do around me having a bite to eat for an hour and 15 minutes? That's exactly kind of the concept of me focusing around that. So I'm not feeling like I'm, not doing something I should be doing. I'm going to have breakfast, whether I have a breakfast club or not. I'm going to eat breakfast. And so now when we do have it, it's nothing that's taken me away, and it's only been able to draw, more for our program. You asked about recruiting, for that. I mean, damn, it's when we talk about this in recruiting, that they would have access to these individuals. It's been a game changer. It's been an absolute game changer. I mean, our players it's a game changer for us because they have access to individuals that are there to support them, to mentor them, to assist them while they're there, and the relationship they can build with them that can go beyond that.
All right.
Can I just do a quick follow-up?
No.
Okay. In terms of the young alumni, are they involved in the Breakfast Club as well, or is it? And in terms of, I'm kind of chopping my words, so I apologize. But the young alumni, do they come back as well and get involved with the Breakfast Club and get involved with the Breakfast Club and that type of stuff, or is it more just the older participants?
It has traditionally been, the local professors or local individuals, the business leaders, will bring alums to the Breakfast Club. We'll bring former players that have gone through it, and we take each month. I'll take 3 to 5 players with me to go. So whether it's the freshman class, usually the first one of the year, I usually take the freshman class, so they get introduced to it, and everybody wants to meet them as the new young guys that are going to be on our team. They're going to be watched playing. They've heard about them through recruiting. So that's usually the first one as we start it. And then we'll bring different classes or different people and again, sometimes, 2 guys in the senior class, they can't make it or whatever, but none of them, they don't miss it. One, they love the food that's there. As we know, that's always a big draw, but they know what they get from it. But mostly, it's the current guys, and then the kind of the group of the individuals that are professors and people around the community and the movers and the shakers of Boston.
Next question, Ryan Highland.
Coach, so you're naturally at an institution that draws some of the best leaders in the world, and you built a program now that naturally does that as well. How do you foster leadership within your team, within your locker room, or on the court? You could probably have 12 or 13 different guys every year be the leader. How do you establish that hierarchy?
Yeah, well, the process at Harvard is, as maybe some of you have it in your programs, where the players, will select the captains. But we also make sure our players understand you don't have to be a captain in order to be a leader. Sometimes the teams think that those are the only leaders that are necessary in a team, are the individuals who are captains. Well, when Boston was here with the Celtics in 2008, and Doc Rivers, they won, the world champion, won the NBA championship. Doc Rivers would always say, Paul Pierce is the captain, but Kevin Garnett is our leader. So and we make a point of saying that. Like, I will make sure that I would reprint that article for our guys and pass it out to them, where they would get, as Maddie would probably say, too many damn things I'd ask them to read. But that was always said about that team. And then another thing that we need to understand, and this is something, you learn through your experiences, you need to be able to understand how to influence the influencers. You have people, there are people that are on your team that may not be a captain, but they can influence the captain. They can influence the leader. Well, you got to influence the influencers. You got to be aware of that. That's something for us we talk a lot about that. The individuals that are going to influence the influencers, and there are people that will influence the captain. There are people that, that they're not necessarily captain, but they influence the captain, or they influence the leaders on your team. You need to be completely aware of that. And we try to, make sure that we are, and nurture those individuals of things that we feel that are so important for our program for this particular season. We talk about having identity, goals, and standards, for our team. And that's the only thing we want to live up to. And we need our captains and our leaders to make sure that we stay on par with those 3 categories and nothing else. Like it's not a whole bunch of things but nothing else. For 13 years, those things have stayed the same. Our goals, our identity, and our standards, and 5 things from each one that we generally keep them private for us, but it's the same. We've never deviated from that. I would be disappointed right now if Matt Fraschilla wouldn't be able to, cite off what our identity is for Harvard basketball.
I'd be running 17s if I couldn't, Coach.
That's right. I mean, so Coach Sutton, you said about you like to put people on the spot. Matty, what's the identity of how we want to play?
Defend, rebound. We have our own here. I'm getting a mix.
Baseline.
Was it defend, rebound, sprint? You got to remind me.
Be unselfish and have fun.
I've been brainwashed here.
No, you got it. Our thing is defend, box out, sprint, be unselfish, have fun.
Unselfish, yeah.
Hey, Matty, Christian Webster tried to help you out.
Where's Webby?
Yeah, he's here.
Well, I don't see what.
What's up, Coach?
What's up, boy? You're hiding on me again. Same thing.
I'm down here lurking, man.
Yeah, I know you. How you doing, Webby?
Doing all right.
Good.
Hey, we got about five more questions.
Yeah, go. I got time if you guys got time.
Yeah, we all got time. We just want to make sure we respect yours.
I'm good. I'm good, really.
Okay. All right. The next question is come from my firstborn and my first living trophy, Randolph Childress.
Oh my goodness.
Unmute yourself.
I did. Listen, y'all already answered a bunch of them already, but one I want to say, Reverend Walton is great dude, as you already know.
Randolph, he's the best.
He's down at Wake Forest now, guys. He's a great guy. Great guy. I got 2 questions, and I know it affects a lot of the people on the staff. You had mentioned you learn a lot through failure, and I learned a lot through that with the transition with Danny, right? So now Steve Forbes is here, and I say that leads to what I'm saying. In transitioning to a head coach, Natasha, Paul, you guys on the line, Skeets, I know you guys have made that transition. It's changed it's different in the sense of like all these guys can go to all these clinics and everything else, and people can tell you you got to do this way, you got to do that way. And I learned through this last transition that's, excuse my French, it's just bullshit. It had nothing to do with the typical way when you go in front of these clinics and you sit and you listen to these people talk. That's completely inaccurate. And I even saw how they even used you. Wake did, and I know we may have lost him already, but Wake used you, Tommy, in the sense of saying you were interviewing for the job when I know they were just asking you a question. So they wanted to make it appeal like, oh, we turned down Tommy Amaker for this job, knowing damn well Tommy Amaker was never interviewing or never wanted the job. Mm-hmm. So I say that to say, like, what advice would you give people in that process without putting you on the spot too much? And then I'll follow up with another one. You answer that.
No, listen, first of all, congratulations to you and all the work you're doing and being a part of, your alma mater and your school. And you're right about Reverend Walton. I mean, there's no one better. And when he left from Harvard to take the Dean of Divinity, as you know, I made sure that Danny, you guys were connected to him right away.
Yeah, right away.
Right away. And so I'm glad that you are, connected and staying close to him. Randolph, there's always things that you can, take from situations, and whether it's being at a clinic and this, whatever. But there's things that you can always find, having that open mind, thinking I'm going to find 1 or 2 things from this person, this clinic, tonight. Maybe most of you think, hey, this is all fucking bullshit, but there may be one thing you can take from it. And so I'm saying to you in that regard, as you're going through with different coaches that you're working with and serving under in terms of them being head coaches, you're learning an amazing amount of what you think is the right way of doing something, but you're still serving your head coach in whatever their philosophy is. One of the things I would say, little bit off topic, but similar to something what you're saying about this, as you're trying to go through this process of, you should always try to have an idea of what your beliefs are and what your philosophy is of how you want to coach, how you want to play. Like, you should really spend time thinking about that. Like, you should try to know that this is what I believe in if I were to become a head coach. Whether that's pressing, whether that's 2-3 zone, whether that's, man, whatever it is, who cares? But as long as it's what you believe in, and what you are, and then not only what you believe in, what you're able to teach. What you're able to teach. At the end of the day, whatever you believe in, you got to be able to show that you can teach it. And when I say teach it, communicate it, teach it to your team and to your player, and have them buy into it. Have them believe it like you believe it. This is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to go about doing things.
You mentioned loyalty. So this question doesn't apply to you, but this has affected people I know, because I've seen people on the call as well. And this is back to what we talked about in our failures. From a loyalty standpoint, as an assistant, it goes both ways. So what advice would you give an assistant coach that's loyal to a head coach, and then that head coach, it isn't reciprocated? So when they identify that, would you suggest they move on? Or how would you adjust handling that? Because that's a two-way street. You were always taught, everybody emphasizes, hey, be loyal to your head coach. And we all know there's head coaches that move on and be like deuces. And then with the landscape of the way things are nowadays, that's a difficult thing to do because of the AAU, so many other reasons. But my point is that that's a two-way street. So what would you recommend to somebody navigating that if they don't feel, though, because sometimes, particularly when the circumstances dictate, you got to have a job. You got to stay in this business, right? And so what would you say as far as juggling that?
Yeah, well, obviously that's loaded, and I understand, and I feel it and feel you with that. You at the end of the day got to be comfortable with, in your heart of hearts, how you feel about you and how you feel about where you are. And the only thing I'd say is, like, be true to you. Like that's at the end of the day, like, you have to, for me personally, that's what I would say. I would say, like, you have to be true in your heart of hearts to who you are. Because if you're not, again, I know we need employment, we need positions, we need jobs. All of that's there. I get it. But at the end of the day, like, you need to be comfortable and healthy with, in your heart of hearts, are you where you want to be? Are you with who you want to be? Are you where you belong? And if you aren't, then you got to be, it's time to find out where you need to be.
Can I chime in on that real quick? I chime in? Randolph, again, we go way back, right? So you actually saw me kind of go through that process.
Right.
Kind of at the same place.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, Tommy, you said it best, you got to know who you are. There's so many things that come into play when your name is called, right? There's already a short list. You got to win the press conference. It's all about relationships, right? ADs have their own kind of network like we have as coaches. Who do they know? Who do they trust? Where are they comfortable? And it may not have anything to do with your qualifications. And so you have to understand you are being loyal, or whomever, any of the coaches, you're being loyal, but to what? And that's what you also have to think, even outside of that, what about the players? Right? Because I know sometimes you're in that position and you're being loyal, but are you happy? Can they see that? Can they feel any pressures that you may be experiencing? And so that's where I think it comes down to you. Who you are, what you want, the integrity that you're going to stand on. And know that one opportunity doesn't define you, and it doesn't define your future growth success. And that's why I think that in this profession, you have to build relationships. You have to go out, you have to meet people, you have to shake hands, because you never know what situation will arise. But right now, in any of your situations, anybody on the call, you are learning more than you ever know. And you learn it through every experience. So take every opportunity, good, bad, and indifferent. As an assistant coach, I used to ask, why is he giving me all this stuff? Why are they putting this all on my plate? Why am I the only coach that seems like I'm doing everything? Well, when I scooted over, I thank God for every opportunity, good, bad, and indifferent. Because now you're more prepared than you ever thought you were going to be, and you still aren't. You learn every day. So it's hard, it's frustrating when you know you have given everything and you come to work every day and you have great intentions, but stay true to that and make the decisions that are best for you.
All right, this next question is coming from Kimmy English, University of Tennessee.
Coach, man, that got heavy. I feel like I'm kind of taking it back a little bit. But I just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much. I wasn't on last week. This is great. I've done a lot of these Zoom calls and listened in, and I think this is by far the most impactful that I've been a part of during these quarantine times. But my question for you is, after 23 years as a head coach, how are you bettering yourself as a basketball coach every day now, and in the off season in general? Are you doing inventory on things you struggle with this past season, and what methods are you using to kind of better your team in those areas? And second question is, are there any projects that you've given your current staff that you think are cool or beneficial?
Yeah, Kim, listen, man, thank you. Tremendous thoughts from you right now and questions. Like I have, you can't see this, but I have my notepad right here, and you use the word that I use a lot, is the word inventory. Taking inventory, taking a step back and then taking inventory. I did exactly that when I got fired. Taking a step back, taking inventory, and then a phrase that we've always used that, I learned this when I got to Duke as 100 years ago, next play. And so what you mentioned about taking inventory in terms of getting better, being on, calls like this, listening to you, listen to your questions, processing information about what we do, what I think, or what, that doesn't mean it works, but hearing some of the feedback you're getting, Coach Adair, what you just mentioned. So getting stuff from you, I have in this notebook right here I'm looking at, I just had down for staff evaluation. I'm looking back at our staff and looking at areas that coaches were responsible for, things that, we're going to go over, that I will go over with them, things that I want to hear from them of, their thoughts, their feedback. We always take inventory with our players. Always ask our seniors about things about our program. Maddie, you know this. Ask you guys about write 3 things down that you really liked about our program. I'm not afraid to hear what they got. Write 3 things down you didn't like. Like this, basically, it's like I don't do this stuff if I don't get outside of coaching and I get into the business part of the world that I learned from other people. Basically, you're taking a survey.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to learn from your, whether it's, I asked about our incoming freshmen. We asked them 3 things they liked about it. I'm not talking about 3 things they liked about recruiting from Harvard. 3 things that they really liked in recruiting other people did. 3 things that they hated. It's interesting some of the, information that you get just from asking or, not afraid to get feedback. We're willing to get feedback. And so taking inventory, staff, roles, my role, things that I feel like, damn it, what, I could have or should have, been better in this particular area for our team. We've asked our staff, haven't done it now, but this, obviously the world has kind of gone in a direction so fast back in March when everything just all hell was breaking loose. But in the past, we've given each one of our assistants, I've asked them to do a scout on a program that we really admire, like a scout on how they played and, watch film like we would for a normal game. So we wanted to scout them. And then, whether that's, whomever you might, whether it's Belmont, whether it's whatever, doesn't have to be, it could be, I don't know, you can decide who that should be, but we did that and maybe found, and if you go through that process and then have have the staff make a presentation on what they felt, you know, were the strengths and what they did. And, you know, when they watched film and they did research and however they would come up with their presentation of this is what I see this program and what they do. And it might be off the court stuff. I don't know. I mean, it might be people learn about stuff that we're doing, whether that's on or off the court. You're staying sharp and trying to find things out and finding something that may fit you. Not everything, you know, you can't do everything, but you might find one thing, you know, that might be applicable to who you are, what you do at your program. So taking inventory, Kim, and that word or that phrase is something I believe in wholeheartedly. And then, you know, not being afraid of getting the information, you know, that comes back, because only thing you're trying to do is get better.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Next question, Maurice Joseph.
Mo, man, what's up, bud?
Coach, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for doing this, man. These nuggets are extremely beneficial and valuable for us, so I appreciate you taking the time. Quick question for you. You've been at Michigan, you've been at Harvard. What were the first 30 days like for you taking over those jobs? And then if you were to get another job for whatever reason, would those first 30 days change for you? What are you trying to accomplish in that first month on the new job?
Yeah, you know, one of the things that, you know, Paul and others that are on here and you, Mo, is, you know, looking back, I mean, when you first have an opportunity to be a head coach, whatever, I mean, you feel like your head's spinning.
Right, 100%.
You feel like you got, I see you laughing and smiling. Is that fair?
1,000%, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you feel that way, and I get it. And that's because everybody, you know what, everything and everybody's coming at you, and you're trying to be accommodating and respectful, and, you know, and what I found and what I've learned, and this is what I would say to any of you now that you're doing, if you can, it's hard not to have your head spinning, no matter how much we talk about it this way. But I would say you need to be able to prioritize your staff, your current players, and recruiting. And everything else got to wait. Your staff, your current players, and recruiting. Like that, and in that order. In that order to me. So I would, like, that's how you have to count. And it's hard to do that because you got, depending on where you are and whatever, you know, job it is, of all the pieces that are coming at you to be this, to do that, to, you know, build relationships with, you know, coaches or AAU or whatever it is, all the pieces that are flying at you. And I get it, but prioritize. And that's, I learned that as I've gone through different jobs, but as you're starting, you know, it's a hard thing to accomplish when you're trying to get off the ground and hit the ground running, or, you know, all the things that but there's no component more important than trying to construct your staff. The players that are most important right now are the ones that are in your program. And some of them you may not even be keeping. Who knows how that all works and shakes out. But they're still the most important players right now. And then obviously that next tier would be making sure you're organized and trying to find out, you know, recruiting the right kids. And Paul, I don't know if that something that you can throw in there, if that makes sense, as we've been, you know, a lot of us on this call have been through it a few times.
No, you hit it. That's why I call you the cleanup hitter, man. You knock them all out of the park. But no, one of the things I would always do is was to go out and visit the families of everybody on the team, on the current roster, whether they're interested in transferring or not. Because it's one thing to meet them in a locker room and see them around campus, but to go home and see what people at home can teach me, that was always important to me. So any job I took over, the first thing I did, even before staff, quite honestly, was to go meet all the families in person.
Great.
All right. The next question is from one of the young squires we got on here, TA, Malcolm Anderson.
Hey, Coach Amaker, thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Yes, sir.
I know that the Ivy League schools, you guys can't do team workouts in the summers, and you're still consistently in the top 25. So I'm just curious to know Do you send materials out to your guys? Do you monitor what they do in the summer? And then how do you go about implementing? What is your process for implementing your style of play once they get back on campus?
Yeah, Coach, one of the things you're right about, the philosophy of Ivy. Like we don't have summer school. I mean, obviously we have summer school. I mean, in a normal, regular moment of time, not currently constructed with the COVID-19. But of my 13 years here, we haven't had. I think I had one player that wanted to take one special course over the summer. So we've never had kids go to summer school. This is not. You don't need summer school to graduate. You don't need summer school to be eligible. I'm not trying to sell this to anybody on this, but the concept that we have here, I've been blown away by how we go about educating here at Harvard. If you get in here, you've done the heavy lifting. Nobody's trying to trip you up now that you're here, which is totally different now as we've been other places, and how things can go and how people look at you because you look like this or you do that or whatever. It's just a different vibe when it comes to that. And so in the summers, it's almost like it was the way, hell, when I came along, where maybe you took a session of summer school, but you were home, and you did whatever you wanted to do if you didn't go to, a session of summer school, which everybody went to one session of summer school in college, or at least I did, basically because you didn't want to be at home the whole summer. And also, you got your housing and your meals paid for. And so you took a couple summer classes. I mean, again, this is 100 years ago in archaic times, but we still have some of those beliefs in how things are structured here. And so we do have our strength and conditioning coach has a packet and a book. As soon as we finish everything, and our exams will end on the 16th, which is Saturday. So this coming weekend. But our guys have already gotten this now because it's been, but normally when they would leave out after exams, we would make sure that they would have, a workout program. We feel that we want kids, and this has been healthy for us, really healthy. Like we want kids to do things in the summer, whether that's play USA basketball or we've had kids that play for Canadian basketball program. We're going to have kids playing for the French national. Harvard believes go do something. I don't care what it is. Go play back, but we're not interested in you being in the classroom in the summer. Go work for a nonprofit. Go get an internship. Go work somewhere, and then we help them find out where they can work out wherever they're going to be. If they're going to play basketball, they're playing they go home and play in the summer league, the pro-am league. Good. Like all that is positive for the stuff for in the summer, and not have them, up and around under us for the whole summer where we, again, it's different. I'm not saying it's right for everybody, but I don't think that it's necessarily wrong that we don't want our hands on them. They get tired of us, and we get tired of them. I mean, so it's nice. I always love it when our guys come back. Man, they're excited to be back. I mean, they're excited to be back. I mean, they're excited to be back on campus. They're excited to be back in college. They're excited, to be around us. We feel the same way. I mean, I find it to be very refreshing and very healthy. But we do monitor. We can't work them out. We can't. In some ways, we lose kids because we're perceived that, well, we're not as, instrumental in their individual work or being a basketball player or, that's fine. I mean, we understand, but this is who we are, and we're not going to shy away from who we are. We're going to present who we are in the light of what we believe in it, which we think is right, and we think is healthy, we think is good.
All right, this last question comes from Christian Webster, one of TA's living trophies.
Webby.
What's up, Coach?
What's up, boy?
Hey, sorry you can't see me. I'm out here driving. But it's something I've been thinking about. I've never asked you this before, but being in this league now and playing against some of the guys you played against back in the day, I'm starting to see some of your, I think some of your, where you got your philosophy from. And as a young coach, trying to figure out how I would play offensively, defensively, all that kind of stuff. And I may be off base on this, and I'm only asking this because we're in here with closed doors and all that. But
absolutely, safe
when I
space.
watch Carolina, I see a lot of the stuff we used to do with the break, and I've always wanted to ask you: is that kind of where it came from? I mean, I'm even watching the old Lynn Bias versus MJ games on ESPN, and shoot, they're running it with Dean Smith, the old break. And I remember sitting in the recruiting meetings, and you guys are running that at Michigan. You showing us different stuff in terms of recruiting. Yeah. So, and I just think it's really interesting if that's really where it came from. Obviously, you being a Duke guy, and we're all beg, borrowing, and stealing to become better coaches. Is that kind of where it came from? Why? How? I'm just really interested in that.
Well, it is so much that you, Christian, and it's great. And when you hit on the first thing you said about developing a philosophy, as a coach, and you can come through a certain program, which I did, and grateful and played it and coached at it and assisted and learned everything you can about it, and still do pretty much what we do, from Duke, what you learn and what you're grateful for. But as you're going through, you're not afraid to. Like one of the things, we never played zone at Duke, but I wanted to learn the zone. So I studied about who ran great zones, and if in case there's some. One of the things we didn't do at Duke, and it's not a knock at anybody, we were never multiple anything. Like we played one way on offense, one way on defense. We pressured man-to-man on defense, and we played motion offense. So I was always interested in being, how was it if you played different things, if you changed up, if you changed defenses? Well, you got to go, study, like I gave our assistants, study some of the great coaches, the great programs of what they do, understand their philosophy. Is that something that you would want to have in your repertoire? Is that something that you would believe in if you became a head coach? If that's something you would use, would you try to tweak this? But you're not taking that, and it's just stuff that you study, you put it in your notes, your files, and you know what, at some point maybe you get to that, you're lucky enough to get an opportunity. Is that how you want to do it? And so for me, that was all a part of that, whether that's, learning different things through, pressure through back during the day with how Georgetown would pressure and press, how North Carolina would change defenses. And I always remember too now, as a player, one of the things, and when we run a passing game offense, Webby, as you know. And one of the things about it was that as a defensive player, I try to say, what was the hardest thing for me to have to defend? Again, it wasn't as much as it is now with strictly or so much, with ball screen stuff. But as a player, I always knew that the more passes the team made, the harder it was to fucking defend. And again, shot clock and things have changed, but that philosophy hasn't. So instead of me going from Duke as a motion offensive guy and we just tweaked the language of it because I wanted it to be the passing game philosophy. And I wanted it to emphasize what the word passing game or passing means, which is pass the damn ball. So that was behind that for me. Like motion for me, when we played and what we coached and you had the guys that could do it now, they would put it on the deck and they were going to drive it. They were going to make a play off the bounce. Well, we don't have the guys that maybe can do that as well as we wanted, but also as I remembered as a defensive player, the more passes the team made, the harder it was for me to defend. Maintaining the concentration, maintaining what my next rules were was I one pass away or was I a help defender? So learning from others around you, as we went through it, as we had to defend it, as I had to scout it, as I had to play against it, and everything people do, you can learn a lot. And then can you tweak things and put it into a philosophy that you believe in of how you want to play inside out. That was never something that we quote unquote, played at Duke. That doesn't mean anything bad, wrong, good, or, left or right. It's just, I believe in that. I'm not saying, hell, one of the best things, and I know we didn't get on this and talk about this, but I'm just kind of going in different directions. But one of the things I admire the most about Coach K as a coach, man, he can coach any way you want it. He can change up in the middle of the year and go from we're going to be, you know, all inside to where we're going to be all perimeter and fucking do it. Like I'm and similar to what Nick Saban did in the national championship game when he switches his quarterback at halftime. You think about that and relate that to basketball, to where you're going to change your point guard who's won, I don't know, I thought he won the national championship or played for one, or was 26-2 or whatever the quarterback who transferred to Oklahoma was. And all of a sudden, you know what? It's not working right now. We're going to make this switch. You think about that as a basketball. And I know the sports are different and, you know, it's a different game. But think about that concept. Like, it blows my mind that, and I only thought, like, Coach K could do that. Like, he would do that. And again, I'm only saying that to say, like, you got to be who you are and then learn about how you think things can be or should be. Take from every place that you've been, all the people that you've played with, learned from. International basketball for me, you know, playing for Lute Olson, playing for Coach Gene Cady. I mean, things that we have, you know, from all these different places and people that you've been able to kind of be around and witness and respect. And so, yeah, when you say that about, you know, a secondary break, yeah, man, we did that and ran that and believed in that, you know, and, you know, kind of had a semblance of that philosophy of, you know, and not necessarily always the system, but a philosophy. And there's a big difference in those two words, you know, system and philosophy. Like, you have a philosophy how you want to play, and then your system, sometimes people think you got a system, that's the only thing you're going to do. Well, if you have a philosophy, you can get to where you want to go in different ways with a certain philosophy. But the system sometimes keeps you locked in. I don't know if that makes sense, Webby.
Yeah, no, that was good. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, the last question, absolute last question, coming from the DMV, is from Daryl Squirrel Bruce.
Hey, TA, man, I watched all the videos, and I appreciate Kevin Sutton sending us the stuff about the Breakfast Club and faculty food and fellowship, and your video got some good old school music on that. So I appreciate that. Professor Sullivan was talking about you, and he used a term, and you've been there 12, 13 years now, and they said one of the things that they've done to keep you there, he used the term psychic income. Your reaction was, wow, I never heard that before. Did you ever get with him to elaborate on that? Because I was kind of trying to think about it, and I said, I got to ask TA about that because I never heard that before. And I got my meaning of it, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. What was that all about when he used that term psychic income?
You got to be careful. That's that Harvard shit sometimes.
Yeah. I need to know if I'm going to use it.
Yeah, listen, man. That was the first time I've heard it. But it's, you know, I appreciated, you know, obviously what he said. Professor Sullivan's a bad brother. I mean, just unbelievable guy, man. And just tenured law professor here, Harvard Law, Morehouse undergrad, just a great guy, a great dude. But he termed it that. And I think in that way because I think he mentioned it in that way or thought about it in that way because, you know, I haven't been here, you know, just obviously, full disclosure, just for the money. I mean, you know, I think they recognize that. I think that's the value, you know, at least part of the value that I think that I can bring. And I would encourage that for you guys to, you know, wherever you are to, you know, make sure that it's viewed that you're, you know, again, it's always in some senses, you know, about money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we all know that. We all are human beings and want to make as much as we can. But I do think there's a thought and a feeling here that I am about more than that, which is a great thing for me to be thought of as, even if I'm not. That's the feeling and the thought, which, you know, and I think that's fair and accurate. But psychic income, I never heard it before either. And so in terms of my psyche, you know, what am I valuing? What am I gaining? What is feeding me in that regard? And I think they know. I think they know about being in this right now for my life and my place. This environment has provided that, you know, that the psychic part of it, that I haven't walked away from money, and we've had chances to do that. I mean, as all of us probably have at various times, and but there are other things that matter. And I think was a pretty cool thing for him to say that, you know. But like I said too, and like somebody said it in there, but yeah, that shit don't pay for no mortgage though. So that, to me, it's what's feeding you, what's feeding your soul, what's feeding your psyche, and how important that is to you. And that's, for me, that's what I was saying a little bit to Randolph, you know, about being who he is, and, you know, being at peace, you know, about where he is and how he feels about, in his heart of hearts, about himself, you know, and how he's being treated or not being, whatever. All those things of, again, that goes back to me when we started this conversation, inside out. And the last part of Inside Out was what I said, how we play, how we do things on campus, you know, looking at, you know, internally for resources, whatever. And then the last part of that, which feeds into this right now, is how we feel about ourselves. You know, self-esteem part, you know, like that's big, that's important. You know, I felt that, you know, with Randolph, with your question, and certainly what we're talking about now, you know, with the psychic income, you know, what's feeding you in a way that how you feel inside. And we talk about with our players, like as long as we feel good about us, you know, again, the scoreboard's going to be what it's going to be. We feel good about us, we'll live with it. We'll live with it.
And I'll say that to you, Tommy, and I agree to that, because even in my question, again, knowing some of these guys, I did say that it made my transition even so much easier. Like, I'm grateful to still be coaching, but I was so, like, I guess I could be the anomaly or not. I enjoyed the hell out of this time being home with my family, you know, from the whole thing. But I was at peace with whatever it went down. It didn't really affect me at this stage of my life. I was like, okay, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But, you know, when you talk about enough guys, and you talk about guys in this position, I will say, going back to your question, I learned as much about the administration side in the last 2 weeks, and I always thought of you because I didn't like the way you were portrayed in that, which is why I brought that point up, because I think you were used in a way that you shouldn't have been used in that way. It should have been, hey, we're going to use you to make this position look better, you know, for someone else or whatever. So I didn't appreciate that. But, you know, that was my point in saying that. But again, I think that's the biggest thing with anybody else. Like you said, you start taking money, you start taking jobs for money in this, you're going to find yourself in a dark hole somewhere. And that would be my only thing to add. Like you said, it's no matter what position you're in.
Yeah. We're gonna wrap up with TA. I got one last question for you before I bring it all to a close. When you leave Harvard University, what do you want your legacy to be?
You know, I've been big on the fact that I always talk about if players who have come along during our time where they feel like, you know what, I'm glad I went there. I'm glad I played for that guy. That's it. I just want the guys who have come through to feel like, you know what, I'm glad I played for that guy. And hopefully as they get older, you know, things will make even more sense, and hopefully, you know, and not that everything that we are doing or trying to do is right. But I really mean that. Like I was very lucky and fortunate. I had a great experience, and I played for a guy and I believed in him at a time when it wasn't fashionable to believe in him. That means a lot to me, you know, and I just believed in him for the right reasons. It wasn't, I don't know, I trusted him, I believed in him. And not that I'm, you know, Shaquille O'Neal, but just saying, like, you had other opportunities, other options. So for me, a legacy would just be, you know, pretty simple: teach, lead. I did that. You know, I was able to teach, I was able to lead, and I was able to serve. And if guys would say, man, if I had to do it over again, man, I'm glad I played for that guy. I'm glad I went to that school with that guy as the coach.
Hey,
Coach Sutton.
yes, sir. Who's that?
Matt Fischilla.
Yes, Matt. Where are you?
When
Yep, there you go.
I was a rising senior and into my senior year, and I was trying to figure out where I was going to end up after I graduated. Coach, you can attest to this. I didn't come to you with a single G League opportunity, NBA opportunity. Everything I was looking at was college basketball, and that was a testament to my relationship that I have with Coach Amaker, his impact that I had seen that he had on my teammates, on myself, that you can have like on an 18 to 22-year-old kid. That was really like kind of the defining reason for me wanting to be a college basketball coach as opposed to, a different level. I think it's a testament to Coach Amaker's impact on all the people that he's had the opportunity to coach. And I think all of us, Webby can, agree with me that everyone that's played for Coach knows that he loves them, respects them, wants to give them the best opportunity. And I think it really means a lot to everyone that comes through there, and do it 100 times out of 100.
Well, thank you so much, Matt,
Thanks,
for sharing that heartfelt sentiments about Coach Amaker. We're all coaches, teachers, educators. This has been incredibly impactful for all of us. I want to thank Tommy for his time. The one thing that I want to leave with all of you is that every person that's on this Zoom is here for a reason. You have all been impactful in my life and shared in my life, and I just want to share this platform, and it's been a brainchild of mine for quite a while, and so I just want to share this platform with you guys, and I want to make sure that it's a safe place for us to be able to have this type of communication and dialogue and ability to share. So I just want to keep it that way. The one thing that I want to continue to challenge us all to do is in any position that we have, we all want to win, no question. But the most important thing is the impact that we have on the student athletes that their parents entrust with us. So you hear me when you read one of my tweets, or you'll hear me say this to you: keep impacting lives and creating living trophies. That's the most important thing. And on this screen right here, we got 2 of Tommy's living trophies. We got several of my living trophies, and we've all won trophies, and they stay in the trophy case. But when we pour into people and we impact their lives, we create living trophies, and that's the most important thing that we can do. TA, you are unbelievable teacher. You're an unbelievable leader, okay? And you serve a lot of different people. Love you. I can't thank you guys enough for every person for being on here. Queen, bow down all the time. I appreciate you all. We're going to keep going the thing. And but TA, thank you so much, man.
Well, listen, thanks to everybody, and it was clearly an honor. And Kevin is there we go. Thank you for setting this up, putting this on, and inviting me to be a part of it. And I wish everybody the best. Everybody stay healthy, and if I could be of any help in a small way along the journey, along the path, please know that as Kevin has said, we're all in this together. And if I could be of any help, please let me know, and be happy to assist. And Paul, great to see you, man.
See you too, man.
Yes, sir. And you guys stay safe and be good.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Man.
Thank you.
Kev.
All right.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Be blessed.
Thanks, Coach.
How do you say bye-bye? Say hello to Mojo, right?
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being. Look,
Riley. Hey,
Randolph, what are you doing?
You staying up late tonight?
Every night. Every night. Look Bob.
Good job, Kevin.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
Yeah, thank you.
Always, man. Always.
Yeah.
What's up, Childress?
How are you?
I'm good.
DD.
I know.
Unmute yourself. DD.
He back on mute. All right, y'all.
All right.
See you, Josh.
Not muted, man.
What's up, son?
Hey, what's going on, man? I mean, why do I have to get this from somebody else, man?
Who'd you get this from?
one of the coaches in the area called me, man, said, "Yo, your cousin and them on video, man." I'm like, "What? They on Zoom?"
Look, from here on out, I thought sure I sent it to you. I sent it with TAs.
Yeah.
From here on out, you got it. You in.
I thought maybe you might have sent it. I don't know, man, but
you know I did.
And this was good though, man. I just got off the water fishing, and this guy called me up. He said, "Yo, man, your cousin them on." I said, "What?" So I got home and I got on it, man. This was really nice though. Really nice.
Thank you. I appreciate you. What'd you catch?
I just caught one fish, man, but it was just good to be out the house, you know.
Where'd you go?
Up on the river, Potomac River.
Okay.
So, hey, you see, hey, that's your uncle right there. That's Bobby, Uncle Bobby. Say hello. This is
How
Riley.
you doing? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. What's your name?
Riley.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And how old are you?
10 years old.
10. Okay. That's all right. Wow.
Yeah, and you know who that one is. You know Randolph.
Riley, you done with school? No? You don't have a lot of homework, do you?
Oh, no, I have a lot.
Do you? You got a lot? Do you get your dad to help you? A little bit?
We're doing geometry. I can help in geometry.
Oh. Yeah, you can do that.
I can draw a basketball court, show it all the 90-degree angles. You know what I'm saying?
She must be really smart doing geometry
Hey, hold on one second. Hold on, push the clock.
All right, y'all go ahead, man. I'm gone.
All right, Randolph. All right, boy.
Okay.
What's going on, man?
Hey, it's all good. Love you, son.
Love you too, man.
Yeah, man. Everybody good?
Yeah, everybody's great. Everybody's great. No complaints, man. Everybody good on your side?
Yeah, we're good, right, huh? Yeah, we're good, man. We're good. No, you locked in. You locked in every week now.
Okay.
I had to come out with the heavy hitters, didn't I?
Yeah, it's pretty strong. Pretty strong.
Pretty strong. I told them. I said, yo, everybody was like, hey, listen, you know, when I first started talking about it, everybody was like, you know, put together something